bit of health now. The high consumption of processed foods and seasoning loaded with high sodium has a negative impact on a person's health. Now, this is according to nutrition experts. Health correspondent Kemi Balogun in this report takes a look at the dangers of excessive salt in food.
Sodium is an essential nutrient necessary for the maintenance of body plasma volume, acid-base balance, transmission of nerve impulse, and normal cell function. But dietary sodium consumption, which is dependent on cultural and dietary habits of citizens, has led to overconsumption. This increase in high sodium consumption in Nigeria has also added to the risk of cardiovascular diseases, gastric cancer, obesity, and kidney disease. The World Health Organization recommends that member states reduce the intake of salt by 30% by the year 2025.
Study shows that in some parts of the country, an average adult consumes between 2.85 grams to 10 grams of salt per day, much higher than the 2 grams of sodium, equivalent to 1 teaspoon per day, as recommended.
The excess sodium taken is responsible for about 1.65 million deaths annually. An average sodium intake in 181 countries is twice the level recommended globally. Blessing Ruben is a food vendor and says she adds salt in food without necessarily measuring, but she does not add salt in some other foods that have their own natural flavors.
I fried yam. I need to use salt on the yam. Not put much salt in my food, just little. Most of the things that I cook, crayfish is most.
Other residents eating at her small food stall don't really care about the salt in food, but are only worried if there is simply too much salt.
The salt is too much. It's killing my mouth, so that's more Maggi, small salt.
Because I didn't feel anything from my body now, what can make me stop eating salt.
Help seems to be on the way, with government radar shifting to ensure that Nigerians reduce the consumption of salt through the inauguration of a national technical working group on the reduction of sodium consumption.
Certain staple foods in Nigeria, such as bread, suya, snacks, noodles, shrimps, among others, are high in consumption and could cause cardiovascular disease in humans when ingested.
We've been able to categorize that this type of food is high in salt. This one is the lowest, in terms of salt. We also found that one of the major things we found out that packaged food, what we say packaged food, tends to have more salt.
When we talk about sodium consumption, we see it even in the cubes, what is constantly called, the seasoning cubes we use in our food, the salt intake, adding salt into the food that we take. There's already a limit.
The TWG is also expected to coordinate the overall operation of the developed national guideline and set a timeline for its implementation. Kemi Balogun, TVC News, Abuja.